might look a lot better the next month or two. Hopefully a lot more happy students. There's a lot more to win around. See how that goes.
Good evening and welcome to the December 4th reorganization, committee meeting, and regular meeting of this Methacton School Board. Please rise for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
By way of attendance, all board members are here and accounted for. Executive sessions. We had an executive session after last month's regular school board meeting on November 20th, at which we discussed a personnel issue. We had an executive session this evening as well, again, where we discussed a personnel issue. We have several meetings tonight. Our first meeting is on the reorganization of the board. Is there any public comment on the agenda items for the reorganization of the board? There being none, do I have any nominations for temporary president?
I'd like to nominate Christian Nascimento, please.
Do I have a second? Mr. Phillips? Any questions or comments? All in favor? 9-1, motion carries. Thank you. Christian.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next agenda item, which is the actual election of the president. First order of business would be to ask for nominations for the role of president, and I'll open that process now. Would someone like to make a nomination for president? Jim?
Joyce Petrauskas.
Is there a second? Second. Okay. Are there any other nominations? Okay. Then I'll ask for a motion to close nominations for president. Jim, second. Kim? Okay. Questions or comments? All those in favor of Joyce Petrauskas for president? Unanimous. Carries. Joyce, do you want me to continue the election or do you want to take over?
No, you can
continue. Okay. At this point, I will call for nominations for vice president. Joyce?
I nominate Herb Roth.
Is there a second? Jim? Are there any additional nominations? Kathleen?
I nominate Kid Woodring.
Is there a second? Maria? Are there any other nominations? Okay, with the nomination of Herb and Kim on the table, I'll call for an election at this point. All those in favor of Herb, raise your hand. All those in favor of Kim, raise your hand. Kim is elected vice president. At this point, I will turn the meeting back over to Joyce as our new president.
Thank you. The other piece of business that we need to take care of tonight is to appoint representatives to the North Monco Technical Career Center. I have spoken to both of the current representatives, and they have indicated to me that they would like to continue. So do I have a motion to approve the appointment of Kim Woodring and Christian Nascimento to serve as representatives to the North Monco Technical Career Center Joint Operating Committee? Kathleen, do I have a second? Mr. Phillips? Any questions or comments? All in favor? Motion carries 9-0. Thank you. That completes all the items on this agenda. Do I have any other questions or comments by the board for this agenda? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn? Kathleen, second? Mr. Phillips? All in favor? Motion carries 9-0. Thank you. Now we will move to the combined work session and regular meeting. And we can go directly to recognition of guests and scheduled speakers. Dr. Quinn.
Tonight, we're pleased to announce two retirements. Beverly Blayhut, who I'm not sure is here this evening, and also Dennis McCall, who will be retiring, and this is his last board meeting. Congratulations, Dennis. And we do have a small token of our appreciation to present to you.
I'd like to present this to you in appreciation of your years of dedicated service to the Methacton School District, March 2015. Moving on to reports. Finance Committee, Mr. Nascimento.
In light of the fact that this will be the last time we have Mr. McCall around, I'll turn everything over to him to do all the heavy lifting as usual.
Everything?
Just a report, please.
We met prior to this meeting now to have a Finance Committee meeting. We discussed two items, projections on the 2012-13 budget that we're in right now, and then we talked about the 2013 and 14 preliminary budget, talked about a number of items, and that was about it for that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Policy Committee, Mrs. Shackelford.
There are two policies tonight for a second reading. 113.2, which is behavior support, which defines how students are to be treated. The second one is 209.1, which is food allergy management, which provides a safe environment for students with severe and life-threatening food allergies. I would also appreciate it if Dr. Quinn can walk us through the procedure that is followed to implement these policies once they are approved by the board, because I think there's been a little confusion, I guess maybe understanding on my part, on how how the policies are implemented.
Are you talking specifically about these two, or just in general?
So, once the policies are approved from the second reading, I guess, are they implemented immediately, or is there reasons why some of them aren't, or that, so I just want some clarification.
There are times when the policies are not immediately implemented, particularly if there's communication that needs to go to students and handbooks and those kinds of things. For example, the dress code policy will be implemented in phases. Other times the implementation is immediate. Perhaps in the future we can begin to address that and communicate that to the board. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, because I guess I was under the impression that everything, once it was approved, it went, was implemented immediately. Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. Moving on to property, Mr. Phillips.
Good evening. This past Monday, Worcester Township had their work session where they did not vote to advertise the new ordinance for our fields or lights, but after speaking with Art Bustard, he said that it will be on the agenda for the 19th for a vote for the light and field ordinance. So I would appreciate if people show support for Methacton and make themselves available for that night. And that's all I have to report right now.
Thank you. Technology, Mr. Roth.
As we have not had a meeting, I do not have a report. Thank you.
North Monco Technical Career Center, Mr. Nascimento and Mrs. Woodring.
I think we updated everyone last time. Just a reminder that their annual holiday dinner is the 17th. I think the board will all have gotten invitations. And breakfast with Santa is on Saturday, so if anyone's interested in seeing Santa Claus, he'll be there. Howard will be first in line, I'm sure.
Okay, well, Howard's up next, intermediate unit.
I have no report. The board there doesn't meet again until January.
Thank you. Legislative liaison is me. The House and the Senate are in session right now, but there is a House Select Committee on Property Tax Reform, and this committee was created for the purpose of investigating all aspects of the property tax problem and to recommend some possible solutions. So if you think that's dead, it absolutely is not. Among the recommendations was a call for a review of the cost and value of state-mandated programs at school districts, the development of a new funding formula for special ed on actual costs incurred, an independent study to determine the actual cost of educating a student at a charter or a cyber charter school, and the effects on local school budgets and property tax. They did issue a report. It had 13 recommendations offered by the committee, but also in the report were notes that Governor Corbett's administration had hinted at possible changes to the current funding. So that's definitely something we have to keep our ear to in legislation, and that's my report. Moving on to curriculum instruction and staff development, Dr. Berry.
I have no report this evening.
Community liaison, Mrs. Barone and Mr. Roth.
There's no report for Lower Providence in reference to Methacton.
As far as Worcester goes, Mr. Phillips stole my thunder there with the report, but I would like to echo his sentiments that show of support at that supervisors meeting would be much appreciated. We're getting really close here, folks, so now's the time. Thank you.
Kim, do you, I know you were at the meeting on Tuesday. Do you have an update that you can talk about, or are we good? Monday's meeting, I'm sorry, yesterday morning's meeting.
I think it's all been said.
Okay, great, thank you. Home and School Liaison, Mrs. Barone.
There was no district council meeting this month. The schools each have done all of their Thanksgiving fundraising and organizing, and now everyone's moved on to collecting and fundraising for families in need in Methacton, as well as any other community groups in the area. So thank you to all of them for all the hard work that you do. Thanks.
And finally, student board representatives.
In light of the recent hurricane and the holiday season, there have been many, many food drives, charity drives at Methacton, including NHS raising almost 300 cans of food for Hurricane Sandy victims, a student council fundraiser that happens every year for Phil Abundance, which the total of cans has not been counted yet, and the Methacton Tri-Am Music Honor Society raised money to put together 14 baskets for needy families at Thanksgiving to provide Thanksgiving dinners for them. And with the Warriors Performance Group Head Start, Candace McPhillips' senior project was raising, or having a book drive to send books to the Head Start in Norristown. So,
Thank you. Okay, this is the time that the public is invited to, oh, I'm sorry, sorry, Dr. Quinn.
Just three small points. First, the Methacton School District is one of fewer than 600 public school districts in the nation honored by the College Board with a place on the third annual AP Honor Roll for simultaneously increasing access to AP coursework while maintaining the percentage of students earning scores of 3 or higher on the AP exams. Very notable again this year. Also, congratulations to Patty McGinnis from Arcola, who has been named the 2012 Humane Educator of the Year by Animal Learn. And also congratulations to Lori Markle from the high school, who will be inducted into the Eastern Pennsylvania Lacrosse Hall of Fame. That's my report.
Thank you, Dr. Okay, now is the time for public comment on any board action, any items that the board will be taking on action tonight. Do I have any comments? Very good. Moving on to board minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the board meeting minutes of the work session on November 13th and the regular meeting minutes held on November 20th? Mrs. Barone, do I have a second? Mr. O'Neill, all in favor? 8, all opposed? 1, motion carries. Thank you. On to fiscal items, Mr. McCall.
There are 4 action items on tonight. List of bills for the month. There is no treasurer's report due to the timing, so that will be included in the January agenda. We have a resolution for delinquent tax collection that would move the 5% penalty from our payment to the tax collector who was delinquent, which will save us about $70,000 or $80,000 a year. There's a Shenandoah reassessment appeal evaluation, asking to approve Telton, Short, and Hansen to review the reports that have been issued, appraisal reports, at a fee not to exceed $2,500 per report. And then a high school TV studio grant from Bentley Systems of $5,500. And we would ask that you approve these.
Can we take all of these together, Dennis? Yes. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve fiscal items 9-1 through 9-5? Mr. Nascimento, second. Mrs. Barone, all in favor? 9-1, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to personnel items, Mr. Harney.
We have 1 employment long-term substitute for your approval this evening. We have 1 uncompensated leave professional. We have 5 supplemental contracts as listed. We have 1 addition to the classified substitute list. And we have 1 transfer under advisements.
Mr. Harney, can we take all these together?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve personnel items 10.1 through 10.13? Mrs. Shackelford, second. Mr. O'Neill, all in favor? 9-0. Motion carries. Thank you. And moving on to Dr. Barry.
Nothing under programs this evening.
Thank you. Moving on to policy, Dr. Quinn.
We have 2 policies for second reading tonight, Policy 113.2 on behavior support and Policy 209.1 on food allergy management.
Do I have a motion to approve policy items 12.1? Mrs. Shackelford, second. Mrs. Woodring, all in favor? Motion carries 9-0. Thank you. And Dr. Quinn, moving on to other.
We have 2 items this evening. One is for the board to approve the School District Board of Directors meeting schedule for 2013, and the other one, in Dennis's absence, to appoint Angela Lynch as the Open Records Officer for the school district effective December 10th, 2012.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve items 13.1 and 2 under other? Mrs. Barone, second. Mrs. Woodring, all in favor? Motion carries 9-0. Thank you. Dates for board members' calendars. On January 15th, we'll have the Policy Committee meeting at 9 a.m. at the Farina Education Center. That's for the Policy Committee. Finance Committee at 6:15 at Skyview, and the work session at 7 o'clock at Skyview. And then our regular meeting will be held on January 22nd, preceded by the Property Committee meeting at 6:15. Do I have any old business? Do I have any new business? Mr. Phillips.
Far as fundraising, one of the supervisors asked me about the school district wanted to do some fundraising, and do we have any problems with doing any type of fundraising, whether it's game of chance or raffle tickets? Have we been looking to do that, and are we not doing it for any particular reason?
Just with what you've asked off the cuff, we are required to get licenses, and there's been some questions around what license they get for what type of fundraising. You have to give me specifics as far as a detail, if I can go further than that.
Basically, what I was told was I guess the township has an old ordinance that says you're not allowed to do that stuff, and what was relayed to me, and I would say talk to the township manager, that they weren't going to enforce that under our ordinance. That way we can have our raffles and games of chance, for lack of better words. All right. Oh, that was Worcester.
Do we have any other new business? I would like to take a moment and read a statement that I've prepared. I'd like to thank the board for their support in re-electing me as president. Also, I'd like to thank the administrative staff for the support they've shown me this year as well. I'd like to take a moment or two to outline some of our key accomplishments this past year and identify some issues that we need to stay focused on as we go forward. A very important theme which we stressed at the beginning of the year was a need for greater accountability. I believe we made significant strides in this area in developing and implementing a new superintendent's evaluation process. We settled the Act 93 Mayo agreement with our administrators with full board disclosure, a step forward in the transparency process. We resolved the budget for this school year at a 1.95% increase. Going forward, I believe we need to do better with increasing accountability to our constituents. The board has become more visible at community events and at school district events, and the opportunities are increasing often. We also changed up our meeting to be more transparent in an effort to be more responsive to the community. We have worked diligently at dealing with the field improvement program, including resolving differences on the utilization of lights. We've worked at preparing ourselves for the upcoming MEA contract negotiations, reviewing key issues including salaries and benefits. We are in the process of reviewing our needs for legal counsel and have received several responses to our RFP. We will be making a decision on these services very shortly. We approached the hiring of a new business manager in a very thorough and diligent manner. We responded quickly, fairly, and properly to the ongoing investigation. We have also worked at improving board process through conducting retreats and discussions on internal board workings. We have a lot more work to do here, and this work must be part of a plan going forward, even though it adds significant time to our already busy board schedules. We have made progress, and I am committed to achieving more in a cooperative fashion as we approach this year. Thank you. Moving on to courtesy of the floor. Mr. Andrews.
John Andrews, Lower Providence. High school class sizes. I have performed a study of class sizes in the high school. Last week, my speech advised of the availability of my reports. So far, no one has contacted me to look into these reports. Perhaps you've been preoccupied. The reports detail numerous instances of inefficient scheduling to level class sizes that result in excess teachers and other issues. At about $125,000 per average teacher, that should interest those involved in budgeting. But that's not my emphasis tonight. My emphasis is on the difficulty Dr. Quinn made for me in the process of obtaining the class records. In a right-to-know request made on July 16th, I asked for class size data by instructor and subject for any date in the October 2011 through April 2012 period. The denial stated the data did not exist. I and everyone I've told this story to was incredulous. I appealed to the Office of Open Records, and the first district response included Dr. Quinn's signed attestation of non-existence of record. I have a copy here. My further request was for affidavits from the school principals, as the data portfolio states that they are the sources of such class data. At that point, the solicitor came in, stated the data exists, and would be provided. A part of the explanation is that each month's data in the computer files overwrites the data of the prior month. So in May, the April data did not exist, and in June, the May data did not exist. How would I or anyone know that subtlety? So I can be satisfied with June's data. The other part of the explanation is that Dr. Quinn failed to understand that a narrowly correct answer was wrong. I wonder what the legal costs were at Sweet Stevens and the Office of Open Records. I wonder if it was an attempt to hide class size issues. Taxpayers deserve better consideration by this district, where millage rates rise every year, yet local municipalities are able to hold taxes flat and provide services in this miserable economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Sir?
Joe Ferrero, 12 Pine Tree Drive. My question has to do with the investigation that you are conducting, that you hired Paul Bartle, the former chairman of the Republican Party for the county. My first question is, why have you politicized an investigation when you have people on this board already who have elected themselves, who are business people, who know how to investigate issues? Why are we spending excess money in order to do something that you guys asked to be elected to do? If you are going to conduct an investigation behind closed doors, conduct your investigation behind closed doors. But I don't think that we have to spend extra money for this. You people are giving of your time. I don't understand why you have to bring a politician into a process that is a personnel process. Many of you are business people. How many of you people, business people, understand the environment, the charged environment of relationships inside your establishments? It's common sense. You guys should know what to do. An investigation is a matter of taking someone aside, asking them direct questions, and then plotting your course from there. It doesn't take brain surgery. You already are paying for legal fees. Would you please use the legal fees that we're already paying to a qualified lawyer, I would assume, and do your job that way? Thank you.
Any additional comments? Yes, ma'am.
Janice Brana, Lower Providence. I'd like to speak about the investigation, and I'm surprised there aren't more parents here tonight. Mrs. Petruskis, you spoke about accountability. I know the board won't be commenting until the results of the investigation are complete. However, as a parent, I need to let you know how disturbed I was to hear from my son at the high school about the allegations of improper behavior on the part of the superintendent, and afterwards learned that it may be the third incident of similar behavior at a school district. I urge you to speed this investigation along, and if the allegations are true, not only should the individuals involved be removed from their positions, but as the previous gentleman said, since all these legal fees are being incurred, they should be made to pay these legal fees and return back pay to the school district as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments this evening? Okay, do we have any response? We've had no questions. We've had no questions, so we have no response to questions. Moving on to communications, Mrs. Lynch.
Skyview's annual school-wide Community Service Day is scheduled to take place later this month. Faculty and staff have been working with Skyview students to collect items for the American Red Cross, Philadelphia's Ronald McDonald House, Elmwood Park Zoo, Manna on Main Street, and the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. During the event, students will hear from guest speakers representing all of these organizations. In a continuation of a wonderful partnership between Skyview's reading teachers and the Lower Providence Township Library, 6th grade reading students will once again travel to the library to take part in the annual Fractured Fairy Tales event. Students will have taken common fairy tales and add humor, modern-day conflicts, and plot twists through the use of multiple literary devices. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Nascimento, do I have a second? Mrs. Barone? All in favor? We're adjourned. On behalf of the board, I'd like to wish all of you a very happy holiday season, and please travel home safely. Good night.